Hey everyone, what's going on? It's 2 Minutes to Review. It's Matt.
And it's Zach.
Longest album review under 2 minutes wins. This time, a band that I really haven't heard of before. Zach, you kind of introduced me to them.
Yeah, I mean, they've basically, I think the best way to say it is they've created a bit of a cult sensation for themselves over the years. And it started off in the UK and Europe, and it's been growing and spreading pretty rapidly in America.
Who is this mysterious band?
They're called Sleep Token. And you're going to hear us make a lot of references to another masked and clothed band called Ghost.
Are we?
I think we are, because kind of similar in that part of what's gotten them a lot of attention is the fact that, kind of like Ghost in the beginning, no one knows who in the hell Sleep Token is. The band members are dressed in masks and cloaks, and they have kept their identities a secret. In fact, as far as everyone really knows, it's really just one guy who's under the moniker Vessel. And there's just a really kind of, I hate to use the word satanic, but like a satanic cult-like mystique to this band. And then on top of that, they've been getting a lot of attention just for the sound. You've got elements of tech metal thrown in with modern and alternative R&B. It's just got a lot of elements that probably shouldn't work, and yet they do. So you combine the whole who the hell are they angle with, these are some sounds that are interesting and combo. And they've basically positioned themselves to be sort of the next big thing in hard rock. Maybe even rock, dare I say, make that statement.
Or should we just say music, because it's hard to define them in a particular genre?
That's true too, but definitely on the verge of breaking out into rock at least first, and we'll see where their global dominance takes them. But here we are with their third album, Take Me Back to Eden, and I thought, you know what, now's the time to really delve into what all the hype is about. Let's review their album. But first, you want to support us? Go to our Linktree page where you'll find a link to all of our merch. We have Epic Footnote t-shirts, coffee mugs, hats. We really appreciate any support you give us, because it not only lets us make more podcasts like this, but it's also just a fun way to let your friends know, hey, you like music podcasts and you like them hosted by Matt and Zach. Speaking of support and just a lot of love for our friend Ed at Lucky 13 Beard Co.
Log on to Lucky13, the number beardco.com. If you've ever wanted to try a beard balm or an oil before, these are the guys that you're going to want to get it from. And it also helps that we actually have our own beard oil through them called the Lemmy. Bourbon, tobacco, cola, and leather. It smells amazing. And I'm not just saying that because it's ours, but it does. It is probably the best smelling beard oil I've ever smelt. If you want to try, we're also giving you 10% off of your entire order. So if you want to order anything from them, not just our beard oil, but anything, make sure that you put in the code EFP10 at checkout. Lucky13, the number beardco.com.
Matt.
Zach.
Before we both fall asleep.
Womp womp. That wasn't good.
It wasn't good, but I'm standing by it. I would like to go first with my review of Sleep Token's Take Me Back to Eden.
That really doesn't surprise me.
I know, because I'm a jerk. Is the official Epic Footnote timekeeper ready?
It is now.
Let's find out if I can give the longest review in under 2 minutes. Odds are not in my favor, I will admit.
3, 2, 1, go.
So imagine if Hozier formed a band with Periphery to show off their combined love of Deftones, Mogan Heap, and old school Khalid. That's what I imagine this album kind of sounding like in a nutshell, or how I would explain it. And you can especially hear that on songs like The Summoning, The Apparition, and Rain. And there's definitely a lot of cool moments sprinkled out that, make the case that this is a cool sound that's worth it. That definitely works, and you can understand why it's appealing to certain fans. Plus, the production's actually very well done. I think it does a good job at creating a cinematic feel without sounding overproduced, which, dare I say, and maybe showing off my bias, a lot of modern R&B kind of gets a little too overproduced for my liking. But for me personally, here's the problem. It's just a little too slow sounding for my liking. And, it kind of ironically makes the overall sleep theme that the band kind of promotes with each album a little too on the nose. And by the time something interesting happens, I just find myself already zoned out or just getting distracted by something else. There's just not enough to keep me focused on listening to the whole album. So Take Me Back to Eden. It's a good sounding album. And maybe, over time it'll actually grow on me and I'll become a bigger fan. But at the moment, I find myself more fascinated and intrigued by the hype around Sleep Token than I am about the band and music itself.
And time and star rating out of 5 Z's.
3 Z's. It's I get the appeal. It's a good sounding album, but, and this is where I warned everyone that there's going to be a lot of, references to Ghost about similarities. What at the very end of the day, in my opinion, Ghost had was, there was a retro sound to it that was definitely not pushing. Like, I'll be honest, I wouldn't necessarily say that what Sleep Token is doing is extremely revolutionary. There's definitely instances where bands have kind of did this combos. They do it well. You could even make the argument that a lot of the sound is really on the more nu metal realm or even Linkin Park realm. They do it well, but it's just something about the music is just not exciting enough for me. Whereas with Ghost, while there was the mystique and, the curiosity and there was like a retro sound to it, at least it was a little fun for my liking. It was actually fun to listen to Ghost. Whereas here it's like, all right, this is good. It sounds pretty, but it's not enough for me to stay awake to listen to it. Okay. Unfortunately, we could probably delve into it a little bit more, but Matt, are you ready to share your thoughts on Sleep Token's Take Me Back to Eden?
I'm ready whenever you are.
3, 2, 1, go.
So is this really the time to worship at the dark, ethereal altar of Sleep Token? If you've never heard of them, like myself, what they remind me of, and Zach said his piece, to me, they sound more like a Zeal and Ardor type band, more on the gent spectrum than they did, than Zeal and Ardor did. You also got to take out a lot of the Delta blues that are associated with Zeal and Ardor. But with taking out those Delta blues, if you add in more of a Post Malone-esque hip-hop vocal element and an Ed Sheeran pop element combined with a Tool-like intrigue, that's what you get with Sleep Token. It sounds really cool. And in certain times it works. In certain times, it's like, did you really kind of go too far? Because it feels like you did. There's a lot of tracks on here that are like the big pieces. Like if you wanted to call them singles, you would really want to look more for like tracks like The Summoning and Take Me Back to Eden. They're really like the big standout pieces in my opinion. Vore, I think is how they're going to say it. That one was another really good one, kind of like on the gent spectrum. But then if you wanted to go into the more hip-hop tracks like Granite, Aqua, Regia, and Ascensionism, those are really where you're going to see that Post Malone influence. And then Ed Sheeran's pop influence kind of comes in with Do You Wish That You Loved Me or Rain. I think overall, when I say a Tool-like intrigue, when Zach was talking about like he kind of zones out, I kind of think that's more of the interesting elements. Like, where is the song going to take me next? Because there's not really a specific piece of the song or a song that's really kind of stays in one realm. They kind of travel all over the place. So what are we going to hear next? But in closing, I think what is going to work with this album also hurts this album, because if you try to take this album in many different directions, you're not going to lock one fan base in for long enough, and everybody's just going to kind of view this as a passing trend. And if this band makes it in the mainstream, this is going to be the album to do it. Otherwise, I'm going to really find it hard to say what is going to take to bring this band along to a mass audience.
Time is locked in. And I have one thing I want to follow up with you on. But before I do, out of 5 Z's, what would you get this?
I liked it. I know it sounded like I didn't.
No, I think you sounded like honestly, a fan.
I think I'm going to give this 4 stars or 4 Z's. And I honestly believe that this may be a contender for album of 2023.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I find it very interesting what they're doing, and like I said at the top, that it is very eclectic. It's also hard to lock in, and I think that's where they go wrong. Is like you have a couple of tracks or a couple pieces of a track that go this way, and then they take a very drastic shift another way. Like if you're gonna lock people in, they're either gonna lock in on the band, or you have to hit it right with one of the tracks in one of the genres, but then you're not going to bring that particular market in for the entire album. So I don't know. It's hard to say if they're going to be bigger than what they are.
So 2 things I want to call out. First, I'm kind of glad that you mentioned Zeal and Ardor, because as you pointed out, Zeal and Ardor, while they have some of the it's more of black metal mixed with Delta blues, while this is more tech metal with modern R&B. I definitely felt like there's like some of the mystique in the sounds are similar, but one of the things that I did noted while listening to this was it kind of annoyed me how, because I love Zeal and Ardor. I think their last self-titled album was so slept on by so many people, because they started off with a lot of hype, but I wish they continued to get the hype that Sleep Token is currently getting now. And I was kind of like going to myself like, what, this should Zeal and Ardor have worn masks in order to get that hype?
Maybe.
And it's like, because I also kept asking myself, this is good, but how much of this is image, like that's giving them the excitement? Is the music really what's boosting them? And it's just, I don't know. I liked it. And the second point I wanted to make is that you talked about like how you kind of enjoyed it with it was like the zoning out part, or
that's the tool-like intrigue.
I don't know if it's tool-like intrigue, because to me, if they had just cut that segue, or if they kind of got to the meat or to the payoff a little faster, not completely right to it, just a little faster, I maybe can get on board with that. To me, it just took a little too long to get there. Like, so for instance, The Summoning, I think you could argue the big single off this album. It's cool sound, but it kind of sounds like, what, a lot of hard rock songs could currently. But then it ends on a really kind of interesting, funky, rhythm. And to me, it's like, what took so long to get to this? This is interesting. Like, all right, didn't see this coming. I just wish I didn't have to wait 3.5, 4 minutes to get here. I
think that's where my tolerance for progressive music is more than yours.
But to me, it just felt like if you had come in even a minute sooner of this, and so if you had made this the bridge as opposed to a random outro just thrown on at the end, I would have been like, whoa, okay. You got me. You got my interest here. Let's continue. Let's go here, instead of me going, why are we here now? Why didn't this come sooner? I think it comes down to, it's not that the songs are bad. They're good. The production's great. I just think a little trimming here and there. And we've had that complaint about a lot of albums.
Zach's famous trimming.
Yeah. But it's to me, there's just a little, I wouldn't call it fat. It's just little pieces of material that all right, just trim a little bit here, or maybe even reorganize some of the, the interesting parts come a little too late for my liking. And I'm not even saying they're buried. It's no, just a little shorter, a little let's get here faster.
I'm also trying to picture I don't know what their stage presence is, and you said it was just one guy, right?
Well, so there's multiple musicians on stage.
Okay, so if that's the case, then I would also question, what does it look like from a performance perspective? Because clearly they're performance driven if they're doing the whole mask thing, right? Nobody wears a mask on stage and doesn't have a big performance behind it.
To me, it sounds good on a CD, or that makes me sound really old.
If you don't know what a CD is, kids, look it up on Wikipedia.
But when you're listening to it, all right, this is kind of interesting. I can't imagine myself being unless if the stage presence is so wow, which again they look imagine it's a very similar presence on stage as to old school Ghost. But what's funny is that as I'm listening to this album, I think, oh, I totally understand how a very loud fart could be heard during this band's set. And what I mean is, recently during one of Sleep Token's shows, there was a very quiet part of the song when somehow a very loud fart could be heard throughout the venue. And that sounds kind of ridiculous for a rock show, that you could hear a fart at a rock show. But when I listen to this album, this is not a critique on the album, but I'm like, oh, I get it. I get how someone accidentally farting at a certain part, like how that could be heard during a Sleep Token show.
I mean, I would also argue that the venue's got great acoustics.
And great acoustics, yeah. It's like, well, great venue, and maybe the band should turn up the volume just slightly, or maybe like amplify some of the music a little bit more.
I would be very interested to see them live with like a Dream Theater.
I don't know.
Like if it was like a 3-band set, like Sleep Token open, somebody in the middle, and then Dream Theater.
They're coming to the US soon. As of this recording, they've already announced their first US tour, and they're playing decent sized venues too, which again speaks volumes to how this band is already having a very large growing fan base. They're headlining. I forget the openers,
really?
But they're headlining. And so this, for clarification, we are based in the New Jersey area. So the show closest to us is Webster Hall in New York City.
Ooh, okay.
They are headlining Webster Hall.
Interesting.
Now, for those, I won't butcher the number of people that venue can hold, but for let's say that it's a band, playing Coachella. I'd say that a mid-tier band on Coachella could headline Webster Hall. Like it's a big venue for a band to play their first US tour at.
Well, it's about 1,500 people.
1,500 people.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, I'm not saying it's a huge arena, but for a band that's never played the US before, to headline that is a pretty big deal.
I'd be very curious because the band that I would think like, okay, this is their first American tour or one of their, only American tours. Like when we saw Riverside and we saw them at White Eagle Hall, that room was too big for them. And I wonder if Webster Hall is going to be the same because
I don't know.
I can't imagine that, I really haven't heard of them before this. Like I think I mentioned earlier, I can't imagine that one article about a fart is enough to bring Sleep Token.
There's plenty of articles.
There are plenty of articles.
They've gotten to the point where a story about someone farting at their show is actually like justified. Like they've gotten a huge amount of publication and attention from media in the US, mostly from the rock community. But again, that's how Ghost started. Like they really do have the groundwork laid for them to sell out Webster Hall.
So they're not just a one fart pony is what you're saying.
They're not just a one fart pony.
All right.
Like I actually have a feeling that it will be packed for them. I mean, you know what though? Even if it's only half filled, that's still pretty good. And that's still a testament to how bookers feel confident that they can even still do half of Webster Hall. Because in the end of the day, as long as the venue sells beer or sells liquor, they're happy. They need to fill those dates anyway, but like it's still a good confidence boost. And I think the amount of hype that they're getting, I also hate to say this, and you know what? I'll plug the fact that Epic Footnote is now on TikTok too. But the other thing to keep in mind is that they're getting a lot of buzz on TikTok for whatever reason. Something about the band's music, imagery, it's leading to a strong social media presence.
I wonder if that's also having to do with the hip hop side, because we're talking.
Absolutely.
We're talking about the rock side, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But the hip hop side, it's very strong. Like there is a lot of connection to modern hip hop. It's not like old school, like Snoop Dogg or Eminem or
listen. In my review,
Tupac
I said
or anything like that.
I said it's very clear that they are as influenced by Deftones as they are by artists like Khalid or Imogen Heap. Like there's definitely a trap music kind of R&B vibe going on here that is clearly resonating with a lot of people beyond just metal.
So on that note,
because you know what, our opinions, they don't matter. What matters is the times and the rankings and whether or not Matt or I could give the longest review in under 2 minutes. So with that in mind, Matt, what was my time?
Your time was a respectable 1 minute 35.
Well then, Matt, guess what? That was enough for me to win because you came in at 2 minutes and 24 seconds.
That's okay. When you're talking about one of the hottest bands out there right now, you kind of have to go a little bit longer.
Oh, yeah, nice cover up. Nice way to cover up the fact that Zach won. Cue in the We Are the Champions.
Did he?
We can't afford the rights to actually play that song, but if we could, we would totally be playing that right now. Confetti would be going off in the studio. It'd be a great time to celebrate.
Let us know if Zach really did win.
Also,
did you like his review more than mine?
Or did you think, yeah, Zach was the greatest reviewer? Or, you know what? Fine. Share us your opinions. Do you agree with Matt or Zach on Sleep Tokens, Take Me Back to Eden? Do you think that we have no idea what the heck we are talking about? That we have our heads so far up our butts that you could hear it fart out in a concert, like the fart.
Well, it is the internet.
There you
People do
go.
have their opinions of it.
It's true. And guess what? We have the social media platforms to let us know what you think. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Epic Footnote. Let us know what you think. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel to hear more reviews and episodes like this. And once again, thank you to Lucky 13 Beard Co.
Log on to lucky13beardco.com. Try out our beard balm that we've got with those guys. It is the Lemmy Bourbon Tobacco Cola Leather. We're giving you 10% off of anything, not just our beard balm and oil, but anything on their site. Use the code EFP10 at checkout, lucky13beardco.com.
And like we mentioned before, if you want to support us, an easy way to do it is by going to our Linktree page, not only subscribing to all of our streaming platform channels, but also going to our merch site and buying a t-shirt, hat, coffee mug with our lovely little logo on it. And you know what? Just listening to us, just, letting your friends know, hey, I heard Matt and Zach give a really cool review about a really cool band like Sleep Token. That helps a lot too. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you join us for another episode real soon.
Good night.